Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the Online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used this really strong rank number 1 team built by a player called Prinz, and it features a lot of fun stuff like Life Orb, Regieleki, Gothitelle, Choice Band, Urshifu, AV Glastrier, and more, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by the Ridge. The Ridge makes some really awesome lifestyle products, and their most popular one is the Ridge Wallet, which you can see right here. It's a super sleek, minimalistic wallet that's able to fit up to 12 cards between these two metallic plates, and there's also a band or strap for cash here in the back. Super easy to use as well. You slide out your cards using this little indent here, pull out whatever you need, and slide back as such. It's been my go-to wallet since they started supporting the channel about a year ago, and I absolutely love it. But if you don't believe me, there are over 40,000 5-star reviews for the wallet, which, by the way, has free shipping and free returns. So you can always get one. If you decide you don't like it, ship it back to them within 45 days and get your money back. Currently, I'm on their website at ridge.com/VGC, and you can see all the different kinds of wallets that they have, and it comes in all kinds of different materials and colors, as you can see. So this is aluminum, titanium, and then this is my personal favorite one. It's the carbon fiber one. I also really love a lot of the other products from the Ridge, which I always talk about, including their line of backpacks. I love their duffel bag, I love their commuter backpack, and I love their classic backpack as well. So I own all of these, and I use them very, very frequently. So check out my favorite products from them down in the description below. You can go to ridge.com/VGC and use code VGC for 10% off your next order. And if you have any questions about products, if you're thinking about purchasing one, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, because I really do love everything that I have from the Ridge. So thanks to them for continuing to support the channel. All right, getting into the first match here. That's a really cool team. This looks like straight out of VGC 2015, honestly. Thundurus, Landorus, Kangaskhan, Garchomp, Gengar, and Suicune. It's kind of a fun throwback. I used the team with Gengar and Suicune way back in 2015. I think it had like Bisharp, Heatran, Venusaur. So yeah, cool to see those Pokemon around. But ultimately just a really fascinating team. But once again, no Fairy Resist. Sorry, no Dragon Resist or Immune. Because they have the dual ground types, I feel like this is probably like, we want Glastrier in the back, but I'm thinking we can just go with Regieleki, Gothitelle, Glastrier. And then one of Incineroar or Urshifu. Incineroar is valuable for Intimidate, a little bit lacking on the damage output. Banded Urshifu is not bad here. Surging Strikes is really good, especially into like Landorus. But I think I'm fine with Incineroar here. Glastrier is just so strong into my opponent's team, I think. It's actually Suicune I'm more worried about than anything, just because it can be bulky and last on the field for a while. So yeah, should be an interesting game, but really cool team from my opponent's team, or from my opponent's side. So I'm just curious to see some of the sets, like what the Gengar is, what the Suicune is. But thanks so much as always for watching, and thanks to the Ridge once again for sponsoring today's video. And if you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. It's gonna be Gengar and Kangaskhan. Okay. Man, I really feel like I'm playing VGC 15 right now. That is super interesting. I guess the problem here is it's pretty easy to go for like a fake out onto Regidrago. I can't fake out either Pokemon here, and then I think it's likely Gengar's going to launch a taunt here onto Gothitelle. So if I'm expecting that, one play I could make here is to just go for Dragon Energy and then switch Gothitelle out into Incineroar. I don't think Gothitelle really does anything for us right now. We're not going to set up Trick Room against this lead, at least not on turn 1, I don't think. I don't even want Trick Room to go up on turn 1, because Choice Scarf Regidrago should outspeed both. So yeah, I think this switch makes a lot of sense to me. Ooh, there's Scrappy, okay. That makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if we were just Fake Out plus Last Resort. Okay, it is going to be Fake Out on a Drago, which is a sizable amount of damage. And Icy Wind, wow, okay. Wonder if they read into the switch there. Really good play, if so. It's Flame Orb. Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay. I almost want to switch Regidrago back out, but I mean, I can just launch like a Draco Meteor here, obviously. This thing is scrappy. It's probably running Facade. What do I want to do? I've got Scarf Dragon Pulse. They can Icy Wind again. I mean, Gengar is really the main problem here, right? Like, I'd rather just take care of this because then Gothitelle can set up Trick Room a little bit easier. So I'm actually down to just double up onto Gengar turn 1. Or sorry, turn 2. They switch Kangaskhan out. Okay, that works for me. Into Landorus, maybe? Suicune. Also makes sense. I mean, Suicune was the main thing I was worried about here, so this is going to be a problem for us. And they just Icy Wind again. Okay, that's fine. That actually doesn't end up being too bad for us then, all things considered. Because, like, in the end, we're trading Gengar for about 75% of damage onto the Regieleki. But the problem is, how do I actually beat the Suicune? I didn't bring a Lecky in this game. And this was a good call on my opponent, Pokemon-wise, right? Like, they haven't brought Garchomp or the Landorus out yet. I suspect they'll have one of the two in the back, but as a result, like, the Suicune is protected really well by the ground-type Pokemon. If I had to guess, it's going to be a Calm Mind Suicune set. Now the game gets a little bit interesting. I would bring out Garchomp or Landorus here if I were my opponent's shoes. But they're going to bring Kangaskhan back. Okay, that's actually really interesting. So we can switch Drago back out into Gothitelle right now. Gothitelle having Taunt, I think, is pretty valuable for us. And I can Parting Shot into the Suicune. But, I mean, I think Suicune's just going to Calm Mind up. But if we can... I'm just nervous about getting burnt by Scald on Glastrier by the Suicune. Okay, yep, they do have Facade. They're going to go for it. It's a lot of damage on the Gothitelle. Not sure I love that. And then they Scald into the Incineroar slot. Okay. So this means I get to bring Drago back out this next turn, which is pretty good for us, I'd say. Suicune not getting a Calm Mind off, also pretty good. We have our opponent trapped in right now. If I bring Drago in, I can just Helping Hand and, like, Draco Meteor. It's the play I'm leaning towards the most right now. Just try to eliminate Kangaskhan from the game. And then it's a 4v2 with Suicune being at -1 and me having Incineroar to recycle Intimidate. So I think I like Helping Hand and Draco here. I'm only fears that we could miss Draco. Like, I don't know if Dragon Pulse gets the KO though. So, like, yeah, I'd rather just take the 90% here on Draco. Because if we hit, this should definitely KO. I mean, I would be surprised if Kangaskhan had Protect, but who knows. Okay, no Protect, perfect. Scarf Drago coming out huge for us. Once again, we're going to get a big, a lot of damage here. Big KO. What if I brought out Glastrier? We got a crit there, but I don't think we needed it. If I brought out Glastrier, I could have, wait, why didn't I just bring out Glastrier? I could have just gone Helping Hand Knuckle. I feel like that would have been a better play now in retrospect. Nah. Okay, they're going to go for an Icy Wind. Yeah, I think I like bringing out Glastrier more in that position, but I guess the main thing is, like, fearing a Scald Burn once again. The good thing is that this Suicune hasn't been, like, Calm Minding up on us. I'm curious what their last one is. I would think it's Garchomp or Landorus, one of the two. Yeah, it's Landorus. Okay, so, like, Glastrier is in a really good position right now, right, for this late game. That's exactly what I wanted to play towards this entire time. So I think we can just switch Drago out into Incineroar right now. I'll go for the Trick Room. We probably don't get Trick Room off in this game, but it's okay. I think we can win the game even without it, just because Glastrier just hard wins against the Landorus. So, yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape right now, especially with the Suicune not really providing too much damage output. I think the one thing here is if they go Swords Dance Landorus, but I don't think a Scald from Suicune actually KOs the Gothitelle at -1. So then it's like, even if you Swords Dance, if you don't KO the Goth, it means we get Trick Room up. Oh, they just go for Rock Slide. Okay. It's a good play to not Dynamax there. But the Icy Wind, that's not going to KO Gothitelle. So if we avoid a flinch, we actually get Trick Room up, which would be fantastic. Let's see. Okay, they get the speed drops. Do you get the flinch as well? No flinch. Okay, nice. Well, them not flinching is very good for us here, because we just need to safely get Glastrier out right now. So I'm content to just haunt the Suicune here and Parting Shot the Landorus slot. Actually, would I rather just taunt Landorus as well? Because Landorus is going to be your max option at this point, right? So if I taunt it, then it just ensures that Hailstorm's going to KO it. I mean, I would think Hailstorm one-shots it anyway. Nah, I think I honestly like taunting Suicune more here. And parting shot into the Landorus slot. Then we can just sacrifice both Regieleki and Gothitelle to get Glastrier in safely. I can see why they didn't max though. They probably felt desperate and felt like they needed to just go for a flinch there. But even if they had gotten it, I feel pretty confident in the late game Glastrier because at this point my opponents committed their Dynamax to Landorus, right? That's obviously really good for us. So wasn't expecting to get Trick Room up, but them going for Icy Wind rather than Scald was really good for us. So we've already gotten their main max threat down to -2 attack, which is pretty good, and I'll Psycho and Incineroar once more to get it to -3 and offer Fake Out, and Suicune will be taunted. So all of that is good stuff for us. So Scarf Regieleki once again putting in a lot of work, but that was a really impressive turn 1 play on my opponent's end. But it makes a lot of sense, right? Because like Gothitelle often has to fear Taunt or Shadow Ball from Gengar. Shadow Ball I'm less afraid of, it's mainly Taunt. Okay, they're just going to go for Scald here onto Gothitelle. Max Quake would give them a special defense boost, but don't think that's enough for them. Yeah. The main thing here is that Glastrier, I think, can snowball this game pretty quickly now. I guess the main thing this next turn is interesting is if I'm nervous about not being able to one-shot Landorus, like maybe I double up onto it. This is why like Taunt on Landorus actually would have made some sense, because then you can't protect in front of the incoming Hailstorm, but I don't know, Suicune just makes me a little bit nervous. So the play I am leaning towards making here is, okay, yeah, it's just whether or not Max Hailstorm one-shots Landorus-T with Dynamax. Like, I feel like if it has some bulk, maybe you can actually survive. I know it's 4 times super effective, but still. This is at -3 at this point. It's at -1 special attack, +1 special defense. I'm definitely going to max in Hailstorm here. It's just whether or not I want to consider like doubling up onto the Landorus slot or just go for a Fake Out onto Suicune in case Landorus actually has Max Guard. I mean, what item would it have here? It didn't reveal Life Orb. Didn't reveal like White Herb. Lum, AV. Would it be a Swords Dance set here is the question. I think I'm just going to Hailstorm Landorus here and Fake Out into the Suicune, honestly. Yeah, I mean, even if we don't one-shot Landorus, it's not the end of the world. Oh, they just forfeit, actually. Okay. I actually really want to do that damage calc, mainly because, like, you would think it KOs, but I'm not 100% sure. So, let me pull up the calc real quick. Okay, yeah, I literally had no reason to be afraid of Landorus surviving. Like, even if you're max HP, max defense, bold with Dynamax, the Glastrier still picks up a guaranteed one-hit KO. So, the one thing there is, I guess, I'm nervous about Yache Berry or Focus Sash. Okay, let's say you're Yache Berry. I mean, it's such a rare item anyway. Let's say you have no bulk, but you actually have Yache Berry. I don't think you... Yeah, it can actually survive that. So that's where doubling up would be better. But I think it was fine to just go Fake Out Suicune and Hailstorm, the play we ended up making there. So, yeah. Either way, the main thing about that game was that we got our opponent to get their Dynamax before ours, committed them to Dynamaxing Landorus, and to be honest, their whole team was pretty weak to Glastrier, and like Suicune was maybe their best bet into it, but given that it didn't seem like it was like a calm mindset, we didn't have to be that worried about Suicune, and through the parting shot, through the taunt, in the end, we just neutralized it fairly quickly. So my opponent just didn't really have enough damage in that game, and honestly, like that was more just like of a matchup difference. Obviously, we ended up getting Trick Room up, and that put us in a really big advantage as well. But in like that matchup, if you look at the two teams, like Glastrier just is like the clear MVP of my team, whereas like they have no consistent answer into it, even if they bring their best 4 Pokemon. So yeah, once again, it's a testament to how well this team is composed because both Regieleki and Glastrier are such strong Dynamax options for it. So yeah. Alright, getting into the next game here. Pretty high-ranked opponent, and they have Rain with Celesteela, Entei, Raichu, and Entei. I said Entei twice, and Rillaboom. Okay, so this is gonna be tricky because of the Raichu. Like, Regieleki would be the clear option to play towards, but it's not so easy. So I'm actually thinking we probably just Dynamax Glastrier. One lead I haven't gone with yet, by the way, is just Gothitelle Glastrier, which I think would be really interesting. Gothitelle Glastrier is really interesting, especially if they go with, like... I don't know, Celesteela is just such a big issue. Yeah. I feel like Celesteela can snowball really quickly. So in an ideal world, we KO Raichu and then Dynamax Regieleki. But how do I do that? I'm not sure. Yeah, I really don't know here. Like, I could go Glastrier because we have the AV. We have Scarf Drago. Maybe it's Drago. I don't know. I'm thinking Drago, Gothitelle, Regieleki, Glastrier, but this is not an easy matchup. And, like, this is good team building on my opponent's end, right? Like, I kind of just gotten away with spamming, like, Regieleki or Glastrier or Drago, and here we run into a team that has very good answers for Regieleki specifically, as well as everything, actually. I mean, Celesteela is obviously just trended upwards significantly. They actually go with Raichu Kingdra. Okay. So we trap them in. I mean, this is pretty good for us, I would actually say. Depends on if you know this team or not. Like, if you're my opponent, you'd like fake out into Drago, right? Is the best play. I can obviously Dragon Energy here. I'm honestly thinking Dragon Energy and Trick Room works for us in this position. Could also Helping Hand Dragon Energy, but I think Raichu going fake out into Drago is definitely something to watch out for. So there's like a little bit risk in Trick Rooming on turn 1. Yeah, I'm not sure I love the Trick Room play here because there's a chance... Oh, they do max Kingdra though. That's actually what I wanted to see, so that's good. Okay. So turn 1's going to be really interesting, but regardless, I'm already happy because I thought Celesteela was the scariest thing to run into here. So Kingdra maxing, I'd say, is favorable for us. But it'll be kind of sad if there's a fake out into Gothitelle because I could have just insta-won by going for Helping Hand Dragon Energy. So let's see. Yeah, okay, fake out does go into Draco. I'm hoping it's fake out Wormwind here, but they could also... Okay, perfect. If it's fake out Wormwind, I mean, this is great, right? Because then I just get the free switch in into Glastrier, and I manage to get Trick Room up. So it's like the most ideal case. And we've still trapped them in, which is good as well. The main question is, what is the item on Raichu? It's probably going to be the Focus Sash, and this is where not having an attack on Gothitelle is definitely somewhat of a bummer. I can bring in a Regieleki or Glastrier. I think it has to be Glastrier right now. So it's pretty easy to just like Max Quake into the Raichu slot. I could also Max Knuckle. I mean, I just don't think... Could Raichu be AV instead of Sash? It's a possibility, but I think Sash is pretty likely here. I think I like just getting a special defense boost here, so I'm down to just Max Quake the Raichu and go for a taunt here onto the Kingdra slot. So let's see. I think, like, ideally, it's not Focus Sash Raichu, because if it's not Sash, I think Glastrier just snowballs this game super, super quickly. But yeah, this is where, if we had an attacking move on Gothitelle, it would be really nice. Something like a foul play. But to be honest, like, Gothitelle has so many good supportive moves that it makes a lot of sense for a lot of Goth sets to not even run any attacking moves. I would do the same. But I just like the idea of getting a special defense boost because right now it's really difficult for my opponent to deal with this Glastrier. And they're not Focus Sash on Raichu. Oh, that is so good for us. Once again, that's the beauty of having our opponent trapped in. Like, it's probably Assault Vest then, and it means that they literally have nothing to switch into right now. So I think Glastrier under Trick Room really should just sweep right now. We're already at +1 special defense, +1 attack, and I have Helping Hand support from Gothitelle. Although Wormwind will bring us back down, you can see this is where it's pretty amusing. Gothitelle being faster comes into play as we actually outspeed Kingdra. So, does bring us down to neutral, but that's okay because we have an extra turn of Dynamax to work with here as well, and then Kingdra can't protect after its Dynamax is over. Or it can't protect at all right now either, but yeah, that worked out really well for us. Now we've gotten rid of the Raichu. Regieleki has a pretty nice endgame into their Celesteela, which I think might come out right now. Yeah, so there's Celesteela. But I'm not that worried about Celesteela in this position at the moment. The only interesting thing here is the idea of actually reversing Trick Room. I can obviously Helping Hand Hailstorm or Helping Hand Knuckle. Kingdra's Dynamax ends after this turn. We're Assault Vest and we have a special defense boost, so I really don't need to worry about damage output from either of these Pokemon. I honestly am thinking about reversing Trick Room if I can. I guess it's just easier said than done. Their last one should be Politoed, right? Okay, I'm going for Helping Hand Knuckle into Celesteela, but I'm not sure that's the best play here. I don't think Helping Hand Hailstorm would have KO'd anyway. Are they protecting? Okay, that works for me. So it's obviously not AV Celesteela. Yeah, this is why like reversing Trick Room could have been really interesting. But I'll gladly take an attack boost here, and then I think like Kingdra's Dynamax ends after this turn. You're probably Wormwooding into Gothitelle, meaning I can just Helping Hand Hailstorm into the Kingdra slot this next turn, and that should KO. I was going to say, I didn't think Gothitelle would faint because of how the damage from the first Max Wormwind came out, but that was definitely really close. If I had to guess, it's... Oh, I was going to say Weakness Policy Celesteela, but no, it's just lefties. Okay. That's also really good for us because obviously we can taunt it, but the thing is that Celesteela and Kingdra are going to outspeed us under Trick Room, most likely. And since Kingdra is taunted and it can't protect, I think we just go for the knockout onto it right now. There's still 2 turns of Trick Room left. But with the Lecky in the back, I can just protect on the last turn of Trick Room, and then a Lecky should close out the end game, I think. So let's just go for the KO here onto Kingdra right now. Yeah, I'm just going to Helping Hand Hailstorm. Taunt is so good on Gothitelle on this team because it means your opponent can't protect if you get the taunt off, right? And so much about this team is just trapping them in and then picking up KOs as quickly as you can. So we get the Helping Hand and the Hailstorm off, and that's a KO onto Kingdra. Brilliant. So... now it's a big question of what their last one is. I'm expecting Politoed. That's the best case in my opinion. But if it's Entei or Rillaboom, I think it's still okay. We have an attack boost with Glastrier. Oh, nice play to Leech Seed there and not KO Gothitelle. Okay, I actually really like that. It's really smart. So if Hailstorm was a guaranteed KO on Kingdra from that range, then I could have just gone Hailstorm Taunt, but I'm okay guaranteeing a knockout there in that position. Especially because I conserved a Lecky specifically to deal with this late game Celesteela. But what becomes interesting is if my opponent's last one is... I think if it's Politoed, this game is a wrap. But I think it gets a little bit more interesting if they brought Rillaboom out. Because if it's Rillaboom, then they have to make the decision, do you glide a Lecky, do you fake out Glastrier? So let's see. Wow, it's actually Entei. Certainly not what I was expecting. Okay. I mean, I think I'm fine to see Entei here because we have an attack boost with this Glastrier. Attack boost and a special defense boost. I think the play here is to just high horsepower into Entei and then protect with the Lecky. Yeah. I guess what's interesting here is, like, Entei could protect. This will be kind of a frustrating game if we lose, to be honest, because I feel like I had the lead advantage. Maybe it was just to stay in with Gothitelle and taunt. Nice decision. Like they assumed that I was gonna Hailstorm there to pick up the KO, right? Onto the Kingdra, or not even pick up the KO, just set up, like, get damage onto it and set up the Hail. Okay, Entei's not protecting, which I think is a good start here for us. Okay, there's Shuka. I thought we missed for a second. That's really good damage, but unfortunately for us, they're actually Shuka. It's probably a double up here onto the Glastrier. I don't know if that KOs, though. Stone Edge. I see, they're going for a crit. Okay. So if they're a Shuka, that implies Entei has Protect, but it also implies that Celesteela has no damage into us. Typically, you're running Leech Seed, Heavy Slam. Could be Flamethrower, Substitute, and Protect. But Lecky can obviously just easily deal with Celesteela here. Entei's the main offensive threat. Entei probably protects in this position. I guess the main fear is Celesteela getting a Beast Boost. It's unfortunate there's Shuka Berry here. We ran into, like, the worst possible set. But Lecky is still in a pretty decent endgame position. My question is whether or not Life Orb Electro Web KOs Entei here, because if it does, the safest play really is to just Electro Web in close combat here. I would think it does with Life Orb here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go for Electro Web. I honestly think Entei protects in this position, but we'll see. The thing is that if Electro Web doesn't pick up the KO and they don't protect, then that's really bad. Okay, they didn't protect. Uh-oh. Please tell me that's enough to KO Entei. Okay, perfect. That was, like, dangerously close. I don't know. It could have been really scary. I was going to say the worst case is if we don't KO Entei where we miss and they don't protect and then they just KO Regieleki. But now we actually just outspeed Glastrier. Beautiful. Or sorry, we outspeed with Glastrier. Perfect. Okay, that couldn't have played out any better for us then, but was a little bit scared about missing there. But yeah, I figured Electro Web would KO with us being Life Orb and, like, you know, modest max offense Regieleki there. So the main thing that was really good for us once again in that game is that we had the lead advantage. We trapped the Kingdra in. My opponent basically felt forced to max more or less, and they actually weren't offensive Celesteela, which makes a lot of sense because I think if you were offensive Steela, you should just, that should be your primary max option in that game. So we got the Kingdra to max, we got the Trick Room up safely on turn 1. Turn 1 worked out really well for us also because like my opponent didn't have a way to cover both of my plays, which is like Helping Hand and Dragon Energy or Trick Room. And I was thinking, what I was nervous about was them actually going for like Wormwind onto like Gothitelle because, you know, then you actually outspeed us under Trick Room, but I figured they wouldn't anticipate us being Choice Scarf if you don't know the team, and so we could leverage that information to our advantage. But things could have gotten a little bit awkward if actually Regidrago survived on the field turn 1 and we managed to set up Trick Room. But them giving us a free switch and not being Focus Sash on Raichu, both were really, really good for us because we got that instant attack boost. So yeah, but once again, like Gothitelle is just so good because it limits your opponent's options, and I mean, my favorite team of all time that I've built in VGC was like my post-Worlds 2014 team, and that was like Gothitelle, Mawile, Hariyama, Rotom Heat, Ludicolo, Salamence, and once again, Gothitelle just limits your opponent's options, and it allows you to, you know, just make some really, really cool plays. And so we really won that off the lead, I would say. But my opponent brought a lot of strong Pokemon there, and them bringing Entei over something like Politoed was definitely a really smart call. So yeah, but let's go into the next match here. Before we do, we have the option to check our opponent's team, so we can quickly just check it out. Specs Politoed. Is this the, we did feature, after Players Cups 2, a rain team? I'm wondering if this was it. Because the Pokemon definitely look familiar. I think it might have been. I'd have to double check whether or not we actually use this on the channel. I'm going to do that right after this, actually, but I think we did. So either way, yeah. They did have Protect here in the end with Entei, but they made a call not to go for it. But like in the end, the Celesteela is always going to struggle against the Regieleki because, you know, they have no damage into it. I guess you do have Flamethrower, but they were also plus defense over plus special defense, and so even if you got a Beast Boost by KOing Glastrier, it wouldn't mean that much. It wouldn't mean anything. So yeah, that's exactly why I still felt forced to bring Regieleki. Because if I don't bring Regieleki into that matchup, Celesteela kind of just hard wins against me. So even though my opponent has Raichu, and it was AB, I think I still needed to bring the Regieleki in that position. And very glad we did in the end. So yeah. Just checked, and yeah, that actually is the rain team that I was talking about, built by a player called Don VGC, and we used it actually in December of 2020, so almost over half a year ago at this point. Which is really interesting. So you can actually check out the videos from that on the channel. I've linked it in the description below. And yeah, go check out Dawn. It's cool to see people still using that team. It's really, really strong, really consistent. But it's always funny. I feel like we feature so many teams on Road to Rank that even after just a while, when I go up against them, I completely forget. So yeah. Either way, pretty fast-paced hyper-offense team from my opponent here. Grimmsnarl is going to be a problem. I think it's less likely to be dual screens and more likely to be like Trick plus Full Instance here. Could even be Eject Button, although I think that's unlikely. And then Fake Tears makes a lot of sense. So I think Glastrier is like clearly the #1 option here. The question is also like, how do we actually get Trick Room up? It's not that easy to get up. And there's a very good chance that the Spectrier comes out as a lead. So one interesting option if I'm expecting Spectrier is like Regieleki plus Urshifu. I don't love Gothitelle here because if I'm my opponent, I'm leading Spectrier specifically to counter Gothitelle. I don't know. I'm thinking Regieleki Urshifu because I can like Electro Web into Surging Strikes. We don't even necessarily need Trick Room for Glastrier to thrive in this game. This is definitely not how I've been used to playing the team. Like, in all the matches, I feel like I've led Gothitelle, I think pretty much in every single one of them, but I don't know. I kind of want to try this out, just because, like, Spectrier has access to Taunt, and it can max Phantasm us, and we can't one-shot the Spectrier, right? Especially if it maxes. Like, Drago does well into it, but it doesn't hard win against it, so yeah, I'm going to try to bait the Spectrier out here, and they do lead it with Grimmsnarl, which is good. Okay. I guess the awkward thing turn 1 still is the Grimmsnarl set in general. Could obviously just fake out. Now, I have Max Lightning, so one play I could make is straight up just... like, it's tempting, it really is. The alternative would be to just go for an Electro Web here. I'm kind of down for Electro Web Surging Strikes on turn 1 as well. I just don't love the idea of maxing if Grimmsnarl actually has Trick here. But the worst case right now is what? They actually have Fake Out. They Fake Out into a Lecky and then just one-shot Urshifu. I went for Electro Web Surging Strikes here on Grimm, but I don't know if I love that play. They do Max Spectre as well. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. The other play I was thinking was just Aqua Jet Max Lightning into Spectre, because I actually think that might be a KO. And if we could have knocked out their Dynamax before they get anything off, I feel like that's a really good turn for us. So, I don't know, maybe that was actually worth considering. I just don't know my damage output super well here with the combination of that specific duo. And they have Fake Out. Okay, that's really bad. Phantasm. Okay, they do double up onto Elecki. So maybe it's not terrible. I mean, they do get a boost this way. Actually, it's still pretty bad, isn't it? I feel like they just snowballed now too quickly with Spectrier. So the only play I could have made to get around that turn was to Dynamax Elecki. They're not Life Orb either. Okay. Now I have Glastrier, which is banded, but I think this KO's Grimmsnarl. It's going to be really close. Ooh, they might survive with a Sliver. Let's see. Okay, it is enough to pick up the one-hit KO, but now they should know I'm Choice Banded. I think I'm going to bring out Gothitelle. Gothitelle can Fake Out whatever's coming in, or I can just try to click Trick Room. Yeah, the main thing is if Aqua Jet plus Max Lightning is actually a KO onto the Spectre, then that's what we should have gone for in turn 1. Okay, they bring out Togekiss. Whew, that's an interesting bring. I mean, Glastrier will win us this game if I actually get Trick Room up. Or if I bait my opponent, like, the other play I could make right now is to go for Fake Out and Phantasm onto Togekiss. Or, sorry, Surging Strikes. But the problem is, like, who Spectre targets here, right? Because you should know I want to set up Trick Room right now. So you should go for, like, Phantasm and Dazzling Gleam here. I think I will just Trick Room. If I get it, I just win. And I'm going for this because I guess they get a Max Strike here. Yeah. Yeah. That I didn't think about that quickly enough. Now Togekiss should outspeed and they can just Dazzle. If I went just Fake Out Surging Strikes there, I think we actually win the game. Oh, never mind. That actually KOs Urshifu. They crit. Okay, so, yeah, Fake Out Surging Strikes was definitely the play there. I was thinking, like, even if they don't crit there, we survive, and then we KO Togekiss. I don't know if we KO Togekiss, I guess is the other part of the question. I'm thinking Togekiss is really bulky, so I'm thinking it could survive, but I feel like I definitely did not play this game super well, but I want to do the calc with the Aqua Jet and the Elecki after this game is over. So, I mean, it's still potentially winnable here, actually, but Max Strike was, like, such an obvious play. Like, they basically went for the most obvious play. And if we just went Fake Out Surging Strikes, like, Strike wouldn't have KO'd Gothitelle. Then it's a question of whether or not Urshifu one-shots Togekiss there. But regardless of whether or not it KOs, we have the Glastrier endgame to play towards. But now, I mean, we still have the Glastrier endgame to play towards, but we've fallen behind, like, a little bit too quickly. So, well played by my opponent. I got the lead that I was expecting, but I didn't come up with a good enough game plan, which is the main problem. And I suspect their last one's going to be Urshifu. If it were Urshifu, how would we have won this? The main thing is I just needed to Dynamax Elecki on turn 1. You can see how bulky AV Glastrier is here. So, like, if I had set up Trick Room, or just KO Togekiss, like, Glastrier could probably handle a 2v1, but not a 3v1, right? I mean, the upside is that we can just one-shot everything. If they brought, like, a Landorus in the back and they, like, miss a Rock Slide, we could actually still very easily win this game. But this one's just a little bit frustrating because I feel like I had multiple opportunities to win. But once again, like, I'm not sure those were, like, absolute mistakes just because I don't know the damage rolls. And it's hard to make plays. Okay, yeah, they had Urshifu in the back. Yeah, so that was always going to set them up for the win. I needed to get Trick Room up to win then. Fake out Surging Strikes. Or prevent Glastrier from eating a Phantasm drop. So that last one was the worst case scenario, right? Where not only did they get the double, like, they got the KO onto Gothitelle, but they also got the KO onto Urshifu there. Yeah, I mean, you just close combat Shadow Ball here. Just thinking of if there's any way we can win. With the defense drop, I really don't think there's any out here. Like, I think it's to Quake into Urshifu, but I don't think I take Shadow Ball, and close combat with the -1 defense drop. So, AV Glastrier was the perfect Pokemon to have in the end game, but I lost too many resources before I could really fully maximize it. In the end, if you look at the Pokemon my opponent brought, they didn't bring that Landorus, and so a Dynamax Lucky would have absolutely destroyed them. So there's Shadow Ball. That's a crit? Not even. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Spectrier did snowball this game pretty quickly with the boosts. Oops, that is not what I meant to do. I wanted to pull up the damage calc right now. So let's get that up again. Well played by my opponent. The main thing I wanted to calc was Regieleki into Spectrier. If I went Aqua Jet plus Max Lightning turn 1, I think we could have won the game. So it's actually really close. Max Lightning there, let's assume they have, I don't know, 4 HP. If they have no bulk, it does 73 to 86, and then Aqua Jet here does 24 to 29%. So there is a chance the Spectrier can survive, right? 73% plus the 24% is 97. But the odds of them surviving are pretty slim there. Now, this is assuming Spectrier does not have any bulk, so this dramatically changes if they have bulk, right? And so basically it goes from being very likely that we one-shot them to being probably unlikely that we one-shot them if the Spectrier actually has a significant amount of bulk. But given the team composition, it would make sense for Spectrier to just be modest max. Or sorry, timid, max special attack, max speed. So yeah, Aqua Jet Max Lightning would have just been a game-winning play turn 1. And I think it's more likely that a Grimmsnarl on that team has Fake Out because you're not going to run dual screens as often because the team isn't very bulky and the goal was to overwhelm your opponent with offense. So I would expect it to be like Fake Out, Fake Tears, Trick, and Spirit Break. Maybe one screen, but yeah, like we could deduce that the Grimmsnarl was not going to set up screens on turn 1 and was likely to Fake Out. So yeah, could have just won the game on turn 1 probably, and that turn was obviously a pretty big misplay. And then not going for Fake Out Surging Strikes, the turn that Togekiss came out was also a misplay. So it's hard to gauge whether or not like objectively, it's hard to gauge whether or not how much damage, like whether or not we're guaranteed the KO on things like this. But you can kind of make like educated guesses and. I mean, I guess if we don't KO the Spectre and then they KO us in return on a Lucky, things get kind of bad. But their team was really weak into Glastrier, even if Glastrier weren't Dynamax. So I didn't need to, like, force Dynamax Glastrier too hard. I could have just played towards regular AV late-game Glastrier, which would have been really solid as well. But good execution by my opponent for sure. And a nice play turn 1. They played around this, like, they played the offensive Spectre really perfectly. So kudos to them. All right, last match of the day, and okay, so they have Aleki plus Glastrier as well, but Porygon, Lele, Urshifu, Landorus. So I feel like our Glastrier is obviously the main thing we want to play towards in Dynamax in this game. I'm nervous about their Aleki as a lead. Scarf Drago is interesting, but I mean, they have Tapu Lele, so I probably shouldn't bring it. I'm thinking Gothitelle Incineroar here and just get Trick Room up and play towards Glastrier, but like they also have Glastrier, which might actually be faster than ours under Trick Room. So we don't necessarily need to set up Trick Room. My fear is with this lead I'm going with, it's a little bit too passive. But this isn't a great game for Regidrago, mainly because Lele just like invalidates it really, really hard. And they have a bunch of things that can survive Dragon Energy. I feel awkward with Aleki here, mainly because I suspect, like, this Aleki is pretty bulky, but as a result, you're going to get outsped by most Alekis in the format. So you have to play that, you know, basically in consideration. I'm just thinking that our Glastrier does better than their Glastrier because we have Incineroar and we have Gothitelle to trap things in. But I don't know. Like, we don't necessarily have to set up Trick Room here. And the fear with Incineroar Gothitelle with this team is that it's like one of the most passive leads I could go with, right? It doesn't really put on that much offensive pressure. They go with Lele and Aleki. I think that's a very good lead from their end because I can't fake out with either of my Pokemon right now. That is such a good lead by them. Wow. How do I even come back from that? Way to go. This is where a Gothitelle Glastrier would have been really strong as a lead. Why didn't I lead that, actually? I think I just missed that as a lead option. If I were to replay this game, I would just go with that, honestly. Okay. Well, I can't fake out turn 1. Aleki is a bigger problem, I would say, because of the fact that it has super effective damage into Urshifu. So honestly, turn 1, I kind of want to just go for a Helping Hand onto Incineroar. I would think Helping Hand Lash Out KOs Aleki, but we should probably just guarantee the knockout here. I'll Helping Hand Flare Blitz. I just, yeah. Like, let's see what they go for. They didn't max. They just T-Bolt. That's fine. Yeah, into Gothitelle. That's fine. Brings us down to Sash. They get a crit. It's fine. Probably a Dazzle here. Or a Moonblast. Okay. Yeah, good double up. I mean, if we trade, I'm nervous about the, Oh, it's not Scarf Lele. Okay. That's good to know, but our Urshifu is in max speed. Is this a Sash? Okay, it's not Sash, so that's good at least. It's not a terrible turn 1 for us, all things considered, but I wonder whether or not Lash Out would have been better there. I think we just bring Glastrier out immediately. Nice lead by my opponent, though. Oh, they bring Porygon out. Okay, I'm actually very happy to see that. Truth be told. I'm actually very surprised they brought that out, but I suspect their last one's Glastrier. I mean, you can't really knock us out right now. I can max. I can Steel Spike into Lele. And then just Parting Shot, I think, into Porygon. Because if they're bringing Porygon out right now, I think their last one has to be Glastrier. Otherwise, I think it would have just been a lot better for my opponent to bring in anything but the Porygon right now. Because the main thing with Porygon is that it just doesn't put on that much offensive pressure. I was going to say, I guess theoretically it could Dynamax, but I feel like that's pretty unlikely. Yeah, I mean, Lele protecting here would make a lot of sense. I guess the other question is if Life Orb Moonblast just one-shots Incineroar from this range, I actually would have been better off just switching out Incineroar. Because, like, it's very likely they're going to be faster with their Glastrier, because this Glastrier is actually not min speed. Okay, if we survive this, though, we're in really good shape. Let's go, Incineroar. Okay, perfect. Because I'm going to get an attack boost and a defense boost, bring Porygon down to neutral, and I'll have Intimidate for this late game against their last Pokemon, which should be Glastrier. The other play to consider there was just doubling up onto Porygon for a KO. Like, if Flare Blitz close combat's enough to pick up the KO, but I wouldn't, like, count on it, so I didn't want to take that gamble. Okay, so we get Banded Urshifu out now. And what's interesting with Banded Urshifu is we can actually maybe just stay in and click close combat. Because I'm giving it a defense boost right now. If you're my opponent, I guess you would probably try attack. You double up onto the Urshifu slot. Glastrier should be coming in right now as they set up Trick Room. That's my guess. But if they don't Trick Room here, this also becomes a lot more interesting. It's interesting both ways. I mean, we haven't won the game by any means, but things are actually looking pretty good for us despite what I felt like was a stronger lead from my opponent's end. But, you know, that's why you have to sometimes just improvise, adapt, and overcome, right? Obviously, the lead wasn't what I was hoping to see, but it was still totally fine. It's not like, you know, we just insta-lost the game. And yeah, that's Glastrier in the back for them. Okay. Glastrier in the back. Got a defense boost. I'm Choice Banded. Play I'm leaning towards making is going for Knuckle. Part of me is very intrigued in going for a Max Quake here to give Urshifu a special defense boost. How many turns of terrain are left? 3, -1. Switching Urshifu out. The play I want to make the most here is just Knuckle and close combat, but I think if I'm my opponent, I would just double up onto Urshifu. Yeah, I mean, their Glastrier can definitely pull it back right now. Tri-Attack Quake would be a KO onto Urshifu. But the thing is, because I don't have Protect, I think I still stay in here, because if I make the switch into Incineroar, the Max Quake just gives them a boost. Like, it brings their attack back to neutral anyway, right? So then I'm in the same position. I guess, actually, it doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah, they Quake. That actually did not do very much because of the defense boost. I wonder if we survive a Tri-Attack here, because if we do, we should win the game. I also didn't know if their Porygon was going to outspeed us. We were still faster. Okay, then Quake was definitely the play here. If I Quaked into Porygon, I think that was a wrap. Okay, so I'm not very happy about that, but that's okay. Just wasn't sure how fast their Porygon was going to be. Oh, they had T-Bolt, though. I'm not even sure we'd have survived then. Okay, they actually have T-Bolt. Wow. Okay. So I bring Incineroar, I get an Intimidate off. They're at -1, I'm at +2 attack. We're faster with Glastrier. Yeah, if they... I'm curious if we could have survived Thunderbolt with the Max Quake boost there on Urshifu. It would be kind of close. I honestly think we would, but... yeah. There's still 3 turns of Trick Room. I'm AV, so I can never Protect, and it's my last turn of Dynamax. I'm at +2 attack. They're at -1 attack. They can Quake Incineroar to go back to neutral. I would think +3 close combat KOs this thing, so I think here I want to go for a Steel Spike onto the... I mean, does +3 close combat KO? Do I really need a defense boost? Because this thing shouldn't one-shot me even at neutral, right? Especially because I have a defense boost. So I think what we can do here is just Knuckle into Porygon. I went for Flare Blitz over Fake Out, but I don't think that makes any sense because they could have Ally Switch, but they just Quake. Okay, good. Yeah, I think there we want to make sure they don't Ally Switch, so it's better to just get the KO. Yeah, I mean, the idea here is that they're at neutral, but we have a defense boost, so you shouldn't KO me with a Max Steel Spike. Or a Max... any Max move. And then we have +4 close combat now into Glastrier. The other thing I wanted to watch out for is if their Glastrier had Steel Spike and then they Steel Spike us, right? If we didn't go for Knuckle here, then I don't think close combat would KO, but I don't know. I mean, now the fear is they Steel Spike and +3 close combat, or sorry, +4 close combat doesn't KO with them having a defense boost. So it was a really close game, one way or the other, so let's see what it comes down to. But yeah, I'm really curious if my Urshifu could have survived T-Bolt. They had T-Bolt in the end, though, which was also a little unfortunate, but... +4, +1, +2 Spadef. Unfortunately, there's still 2 turns of Trick Room left. If there were 1 turn of Trick Room left, I think this would actually be a guaranteed wrap for us. But they have to Steel Spike here, I think. Yeah. We should survive this barring a crit. Okay. It actually... that damage was really... The problem here is I also don't know if they're AV or weakness policy. Close combat. Oh, that is not enough. Wow. Okay, they win the game then. Given that, it would actually have been appropriate to have Steel Spike to get a defense boost on my Glastrier, especially because they weren't weakness policy in the end, but now they just win with the close combat onto us. I honestly thought +3 close combat would have been enough into this thing. Now, yeah, now you just CC into us. Close game, though. Yeah. Okay, so what went wrong in this game? The leads didn't work out super well for us, but it was still fine. Could have, yeah, the question is T-Bolting. I think it may have been better to actually get defense boosts on this thing, but I was nervous about this being weakness policy'd. Had I Steel Spike Porygon, we still would have KO'd it. We would just be at +3 attack, but close combat wasn't going to be a KO on this thing anyway. Yeah, I just was wrong in thinking +3 close combat would be enough there. I wonder if my opponent, like, is, like, nervous about us speed tying this entire time. Yeah, I think I like Steel Spiking more. They go for Heavy Slam. Does that KO, actually? Oh, they don't have close combat! I mean, that must be it, right? But why are you not running close combat? Wow. This is an example of a game in which we won, but against, like, a standard Glastrier set, we would lose, meaning that I don't like how it played out, right? Like, the assumption was that we lost, basically. I can't believe they didn't have close combat there in the end. I mean, they have to be AV, right? They weren't Life Orb, I guess. It wasn't White Herb. Could be Lum, I guess. They didn't protect or max guard at any point. That's wild. But yeah, given that close combat didn't come close to knocking out their Glastrier, the play was definitely to Steel Spike into Porygon. If we Steel Spike into that, then we get another defense boost, and then your Steel Spike into close combat wouldn't even KO our Glastrier. I guess the thing is though, like I'm still playing around weakness policy anyway, right? But then being policy is a little bit less likely, especially without a way to self-activate. So yeah. I mean, even if they had policy, that game was like a done for us anyway, right? It's not like we played around the policy anyway. So I think if I were to replay that, yeah, I'd actually just Steel Spike Porygon. Maybe Steel Spike Porygon both times, although I wasn't sure it'd be a guaranteed 2-hit KO onto Porygon. So I think I like Knuckle into Steel Spike, get ourselves to +2 defense, and go from there. But we get bailed out because in the end, the Glastrier actually, I guess, didn't have close combat, or they misclicked, or just thought Heavy Slam would pick up the KO. But you always close combat there if you have it. And that should be a KO from that range, I would think. So, yeah. I mean, I guess, well, they were at neutral, right, with Glastrier. We're at -1 defense. No, we were at neutral. So maybe we actually could have survived a close combat anyway. So maybe that wasn't as doomed as I thought it was. But either way, definitely a fun set of games with this team. And yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite teams that I've used throughout Series 9. I think, like, it's no surprise to me, Prinz, the original team builder, was able to get #1 on the ladders with this team. Really consistent, really strong, but also is so flexible, has so many options. And I think this is a great example of a team that not only thrives in best of 1, but also can put in a lot of work in best of 3. We featured many teams on the channel which are like very best of 1 oriented, but this to me is just a wonderfully constructed team. I'm just sad I didn't get more mileage out of that Choice Band Urshifu in the end, because I feel like I could have showcased it a little bit more, but ultimately every other Pokemon definitely pulled its weight, especially just Gothitelle trapping things in, Aleki just picking up these KOs, and Glastrier for a lot of these end games. AV Glastrier is just so difficult to knock out, even if you have super effective damage, so yeah. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks once again to The Ridge for sponsoring today's video. Details for the team are in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.